The first step is understanding coming from analysis. And you probably have all seen this little graphic, the available market, the service addressable market, and the share of the market that you can get. Always good to start with knowing how big is the market, how much of that can we achieve, and that needs to be looked at realistically. So need to understand how the market is structured, and it's not just, okay, there's this much in the IT market and we can get this share of it. How are we going to be able to access it? And therefore, initially and within, say, 5 years, how much can you hope to get? Once you know how much you feel you can get from a market, then you can set the budget to know how much or how little are you going to spend in getting that. So I'll do a quick worked example so that you can see what these three elements actually mean. For example, let's talk about the IT market. The total IT market in the UK is the first thing you look at. And if you're selling CRM, the addressable market is the size of the CRM market in the UK, which is likely to be large and therefore very attractive for you as a CRM supplier to go after. The real trick comes in working out what is the share of the market that you can realistically get. And that is the challenge, because there are many reasons why it's not a simple calculation. Now, when you first look at a market, you want to do a quick back of the envelope calculation to say, ooh, is this a good market to go for? How do you do that without going into expensive market research to get all of the drill down data that you want? Well, here's an example. For example, you have your Slovenian turnover, that's around 1 million, for example. And it's likely that you'll be pretty clued up as to what your share of the Slovenian market is. You know the competition, you know how big the market is. It's very easy. You can use IPES if you want to be more scientific to see how much your competitors make in turnover. There's a lot of work you can do. So let's estimate you've got 10% market share. So the Slovenian market is a 10 million market for the CRM, for example. Well, we can say we've got a 2 million population here in Slovenia and the UK's got 66 million. So very quickly, the available market, the CRM market in the UK would be 330 million. So that gives us a very quick back of the envelope operation there. Maybe it makes more sense not to do it on population, but to do it on GDP as the multiplier. So rather than 2 million people in the UK, 66 million in Slovenia and 66 in the UK, if you take GDP per capita and use that as the multiplier, you actually come up with a service available market of 536 million in the UK. But in orders of magnitude, you're just about there. So it's a good back of the thumb. If you want to back of the envelope, rule of thumb, how big is the market? Another way you can do it, again, very quickly, Slovenian population 2 million, UK 66 million, turnover 1 million, therefore potential 33 million in the UK. That's one way to look at it. Now, be very careful when you make this scaling, because there's something that you could call the home effect. Selling a service or a product as a Slovenian company in Slovenia, you have a home advantage. So your market share here is likely to be much larger than it could be in the UK. Also, the amount of competition here in Slovenia will be less, and you won't have the big international players coming in, because Slovenia is usually one of the last on their list of countries to go and get representation or to enter. So scale back your plans once you've made these back of the envelope calculations. Now, it's relatively easy to understand what the obvious market barriers are. We now have different custom or taxation regimes, localization. The legislation is different, as we mentioned, equivalence of people's qualifications. Those are the obvious things. Certification as well, if you're making a product. All of these things are very obvious. One of the things that we sometimes don't think about are the hidden barriers. Now, they could be politics. There are some people in the UK that might not want to be dealing with Europe now they've left Europe. And you have to be aware of that. I don't think rational business people are thinking like that, but there is an undercurrent of that in some places. And also customs. And when I talk about customs, I talk about the way things are in the UK, the way the UK does things. As an example, I used to work for an IT company selling time and attendance software. We entered the UK market. We were convinced our product was good enough for the UK market and had all the features that you would expect, because we've been doing this for years in Slovenia. Our UK partner that we went with had done their due diligence, had looked at the product and believed the same. So all good and well. Then we find out that the UK does things differently than Slovenia, and it wasn't built into our product. Example, paid weekly. A lot of blue-collar workers in the UK are paid on a weekly basis. No one in Slovenia is paid on a weekly basis. All of the payroll is worked out on a monthly basis. So immediately we had a big hole in the product. Another area, half-day holidays. It's a legal thing in the UK. People take half a day holiday. No ability to work that out in our system. UK working schemes, 4.5 day week. It's still a 40-hour week or a 38-hour week. It's just taken over 4.5 days. Now, our scheduling and our ability, we had to do a lot of work to bring the product up to scratch for the UK market. And of all crazy things, and this will come back to Andy's culture as well, working time directive for a time and attendance company was absolutely paramount in the UK. In fact, the only place we were ever asked and pulled up on our working time directive reports was the UK, the one country in Europe that had an opt-out from the working time directive. But this is the cultural point I will make. If there is a rule to follow, the UK people will follow it. So be very aware of that when you're doing business. Health and safety here in Slovenia is very, very lax in comparison to health and safety in the UK. And this isn't just a European thing. This goes back a long, long way. And you can't make shortcuts. You can't circumvent legislation. The UK people, if there's a rule to follow, they will follow it. And in that respect, culturally, something to look out for. It's often we're a little bit fast and loose if no one's going to notice we can do this. In the UK, no chance. And that will start at the customs border with certification as well. But all of these little hidden things add costs. But I also mentioned there are opportunities. One of the things in the service sector where you're providing high quality services, the UK now does not have freedom of movement. So its ability to find skilled, lower paid people is much reduced. And they've seen a flight of skills and people out of the UK since the Brexit saga started. That means that you offer a resource that is often in short supply in the UK. They can't quickly bring someone on board to upskill, to increase their numbers, because there just aren't as many skilled people around. So in that respect, huge opportunity for you there. Okay, the slide doesn't seem. Okay, and what this effectively points to is a need to do a really, as one say, honest and detailed SWOT analysis of your, your company, your service, your offering. Understand all the upsides and all the possible downsides, and be honest about it, because when you come to positioning your product in the market, you need to get that right in order to have the credibility and in order to be able to get traction with your early contacts. What I've done now, I brought up a slide. I'd like Andy to jump in here because this is something he's done recently, and he can talk in very good detail about how to carry out such an analysis. Andy? Unmute, Andy.
Sorry for that. Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile example. This is a live example with a Slovene company that we're working with, and I think it's very good to illustrate how the analysis and the product offering and the value added can really change the perception and the paradigm of a company. It allows also, I think, managers and CEOs to take their head out of the sand and get a bird's eye picture view. And I won't go too much into detail with this, but what it showed two things. It showed for the UK market, this is specific for the UK market, we were aiming at actually the wrong category of people. And we actually made a big shift, and we pivoted the company's product offering, because we were previously, the company was going for very large clients in the UK, where we were basically fighting on price and huge pressure. Which we were not very competitive, and no one had really looked at that. So we went back and said, what are we really good at? And it showed, actually, we asked a lot of questions. What were the solutions we're providing? What's the product offering? What capacity production do we have that we can find a niche and a wedge into the UK market? And after weeks of debate and really good analysis, we found that the company was actually really good in R&D, had excellent engineering prowess, had really good defined project management, prototyping skills. So we said, okay, let's pivot completely, forget the big guys, let's reanalyze the distribution. So we actually focused on niche, low margin automotive producers, i.e. people like Lotus, Aston, and Bentley. And we also focused the skills on really good electric vehicle development companies. So it was a complete paradigm shift, but it did two things. It reoriented the company, but it also changed the business model completely, and also changed the distribution and how you approach the distribution in the UK. And this was a revelation for the management. So, and everything changed completely. And then we implemented mailing lists, we researched new customers, and I think we had about 165 new contacts. And we had a 25% return rate through the email and what I was explaining before. So it was analyzing and understanding your market structure, which also impacts your distribution and your costing and your basically your new business growth strategy.
Yeah, I mean, the point there is be ready to make to understand that how you do business here may be very different to how you do business in the UK, and that comes down to everything: the pricing of what you offer, how you offer it, how you package it, everything.
We encourage our audience again, if you have concrete questions about your company, Rob and Andy are the experts. Ask them. Don't be shy.
Okay. Another area to look at is when you access the UK, understand it is a big place, and it has centres of excellence around certain geographical locations. Some of those locations are well connected, others are not. So when we're back in the world where we can travel to do business, this becomes very important, because you come to Slovenia, you can just about manage 3 appointments a day wherever they are in Slovenia. In the UK, you'll be struggling to make 4 appointments per day in one city. So you need to understand that when you're planning your access into the market. But also, whatever your service is, if it is particularly aligned to a certain industry, understand where those industries are, because that's where you'll be targeting and looking to get your customers. And this will be in the presentation. I'm not going to go through, but you can see that certain cities, certain locations have particular levels of expertise and concentrations of expertise. And that can be due to historical industry base. It can be due to educational establishments. There's a very, very strong research and technology coming out of UK universities. So these are the drivers. Now, I touched on it when we were talking about how you do business in Slovenia and what your market share is in Slovenia. You need to understand what your competition is in the UK. Who are going to be your main competitors? And on this front, do not be afraid that they're big, they're clever, they're UK companies, they've got all the resources. But also don't be arrogant to think they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes I found, especially when we were looking to develop software for the UK, that the answer from the technical guys was, oh, why would you want to do that? Well, that's the way it's done. And you have to understand that the UK market has grown in its particular way and is a big market. There may be illogical things that they do, but they do it. And if you want to do business with them, you either try and change them or you get on board with them. And I guarantee you, option 2 is the easier way. You know, be humble going into the UK and understand that they're the way that they expect things to happen is the way that you will have to deliver them. The pricing and position of the UK competitors. This is important and really key, because I think you will be pleasantly surprised that you can make more money in the UK than you can here in Slovenia. There are very few products that are cheaper in the UK, certainly in services, than they are in Slovenia. And the other great thing is that the UK market is far more prepared to pay for expertise and quality and service than perhaps we are here in Slovenia. Make your comparisons detailed and make them honest. You know, you're inside the company. Don't try and sell yourself on the product. You know, you work for the company, you already are sold on your product. But also inside the family, you can all fall out. You can be honest about what the product does, what it doesn't, where its shortcomings are and where its strengths are. You really need to be honest about that. It's not what you're putting in the sales literature. You can go with a completely different sales story, but you need to know where your product really is in comparison with the rest of the offering that's out there. Then you can looking at the UK price and positioning and your knowledge of where your product is. You can then put this relative value on your products and really position it and make sure that you go in at the right price. If you go in at a price that is too low, you'll never get it back up, and you're basically leaving a whole load of money on the table.
Sorry, Rob, we're running a little bit behind time, about 20 minutes.
Okay.
It would be great if maybe we could start the workshop soon.
Okay, yep. I'll push in on that. Okay, just a quick example here on where things you can fall out. You can do all of your research and understand your product, but then you can basically fall down on a key point. On this slide, you can see it's actually devices for warming water for baby formula. And it's a great product, really, really good, right price position, the lot. The first thing that it says there, optimal freshness and temperature. Well, yeah, for most of the world, that is a true statement. They landed the product in the UK, and then they came across the fact that the UK medical advice and the big players in the market were pushing 75 degrees temperature rather than the 37.5 that the product had. And it was impossible to get the product into any distribution or going out there because people were saying, oh, you're going to poison our babies. And it was a serious shortfall. It meant that despite international distribution queuing up for the product, the UK market, which was the initial target point, it couldn't be done. So this is where the importance of really doing your research and understanding your competition, looking at their features and saying, why do they have that feature? Why do they do that? Will make your product prepared or your service prepared when you enter the market. This is another quick slide showing how you can compare lots of different, you actually rank your company and product alongside all of your competition to see where you actually rank. Yeah. And you don't have to have perfect marks. You have to have honest marks. You need to know where you sit amongst all the others, because that will allow you to drive your price position and your offering. If you go in saying we are the best, but actually you're not, you won't have credibility. You need to really position and know where you're positioned and know how to sell the value of what you're offering. Now, understanding your channels is really what we were going to look at in the workshop section. So let's sort of open this up. Accessing a marketplace, your channel choice is the key. Choosing how you go to market. And I'll quickly run through the various ways, especially for services. You can go direct to the end customer. You can look to subcontract so that you're providing a service to someone who is making a product or providing, has a service offering themselves, and effectively you're providing basically staff on a contract basis. If you're providing, say, software services, that's what you're doing. Strategic alliances, who do you sit next to? Who do you go with? Or partnerships. Perhaps you look to find companies who offer something similar but don't have your product or service, and you add the missing piece to their jigsaw and allow them to go out and market, and for everything they sell, you have a pull through. So various different ways to access the market. I'll quickly let Andy have a quick chat here, because this is a really good practical example. And then what we'll look to do is throw it out to the audience and ask you guys to see how would we do the same for your product. Let's work on that. But yeah, I'll throw it out to Andy now.
Barbara, do we have time?
Yes, we have a little bit of time. How much time do you need for the workshop?
What do you reckon, Rob? We probably need, what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
10, 15 for working through, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If we could maybe quickly finish this and then go on to the workshop would also be good. So I think what is also key here is it's all about distribution, and that distribution is which vertical, which channels you will find. So I worked for a very good Slovene lighting company who did really good projects in the UK, but it was very, very key to find the right distribution channels to get into the company without setting up an affiliated company in the UK. So if you're selling lighting equipment and both technical and design, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, you've got 9 different channels to go through. If you pick the wrong ones, you'll fail. If you pick the right ones, you'll do really well. So you've got general lighting distributors, you've got electrical wholesalers, you've got retail lighting outlets, you've got lighting agents, architects, property developers. It's a minefield out there. So it's good to step back and say, right, I've got this product, this is a product offering, I've got architectural and I've got technical, but I want to focus on nice architecturally design, and I've got a project management system. So you've got, out of 9, you've got to make the right choice. For example, electrical wholesalers, forget. So it's, if you could go down, Rob, the next one. So we ended up selecting, these were the perfect fit. So we targeted engineering companies, specialized lighting distributors, architects and lighting designers and specialists. They were the target distribution, and it was perfectly correct. And the company does and still is doing very, very well in the UK. So it's a very good example as to channel and vertical selection in that particular in the UK. Over to Rob.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess.
Sorry, there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
Offer technical solutions to manufacturing problems directly in Slovenia. How do we choose a method of access to the UK?
Okay, I'm missing where's the chat? No, it's not showing. Sorry, I for some reason I can't see the chat at the moment.
I've got that. Yeah, in fact, we have experience in that as well. We would need to know. We would need to know more. It's really difficult because there's so many different technical solutions to production. So it's really, really hard. But you would probably offer this to integrated systems provider in the UK, who would take on your product with other products, not competitive products. So you've got integrated system providers, or you would basically ride on the shoulder of big giants, those who are leading, and it could actually be an added benefit or an added system or software to their existing products. But that takes a lot of analysis. It is tricky when you come to systems and technical software for manufacturing problems. So it's a difficult one. I would have to know more about exactly what you offer.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, it could be that you can offer your services direct, or you look to find a partner who can offer your service, and you come in, as required. Either you're training them up to offer your solution, or you're coming in as a consultant. And again, the freedom of movement issue may also define how you set your business model up to operate with the UK if you are working in that way. Okay, well, what we'd ideally like is someone from the audience to put their hand up and basically say what their company is, what type of company, what services they offer, and then we would throw it out to say, how do we choose a channel? Which channel works for that company? So have we got any takers?
Who's going to volunteer?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Andrej Pangeršič from Analytica company. So we were traditionally dealing with fintech, so developing software for financial services companies, banks, and insurance business. But a few years ago, we practically started a new initiative as a practically startup, but with very senior people, dealing with designing electro-optical systems for quality assurance mainly. So the main technology, it doesn't matter from our side, is hyperspectral imaging. This is a combination of computer vision and spectral analytics. It's still considered a little bit academics, but it's getting a big traction in industry, especially in food industry and pharmaceuticals, where there is a mixture of machining design and chemical effects or biological effects. We are at the stage that we successfully finished few pilot projects for our biggest food processing companies in Slovenia. Also one project which is undergoing for pharmaceutical company for some type of quality assurance, very demanding quality assurance project. But we are at the stage that we have now finished several, successfully finished and solved their problems. But probably Slovenia, everything can be really slow. So we are afraid that we are losing the moment just waiting for Slovenian customers to move. And we would like to not to wait for that, but to really try somehow going forward with our competencies in foreign markets.
Okay.
So we have working prototypes, we can demonstrate the technology and so on, but we haven't the production, let's say, installation yet. The people are very senior, also with academic background, and definitely it looks like it's high value service and very niche service, but it's not that niche. It can be really employed deployed in many industries. So perhaps just thinking aloud, what would be the proper way? Definitely finding some partner, some complementary partner that would that these services would somehow fit, and preferably with some contacts in food industry, perhaps, or some, let's say, different kinds of manufacturing.
Okay, well, from the audience, does anyone, what are the available options for this company to operate in the UK? I mean, I guess at the moment you're selling directly to your customers in Slovenia.
Of course, in Slovenia, it's door to door. It's no problem. We know each other. Practically, if you don't know somebody, you can find a contact in 2 days.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's the first you can put on the list. You can actually go direct. You could go knocking on doors in the UK. It's probably not the best way. So from the audience, what are the other possible ways that Andrei's company could access the UK market? Get thinking on how they might, how would you go about accessing the market? Let's have the audience thinking and coming back with some ideas, please.
Maybe have a look what big projects are scheduled in the UK. Let's say that the ones that are planned for the next, I don't know, to happen in a couple of months. Look what it's being tendered for, especially if they're public open tenders for the manufacturing industry, I don't know. And look which companies are the ones that you could see like likely players, and then apply to them, because they will be probably looking for subcontractors and partners. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, ordinarily that I would say that's a good idea for this instance, because from what Andrei has said, it sounds like it's a very targeted solution that is still not yet adopted. The problem with trying to fit a new product onto an existing tender is likely the specification within that tender has been written already around an existing product and an existing technology and someone else's. It actually makes an interesting point. Be very careful with UK tenders, especially those of higher values, because they have often been written around someone else's product, either because the guy writing the tender is lazy and has just copied out from a technical sheet that he's got, or because the back channel diplomacy and the pub diplomacy has been working on the people writing the tenders. I spent a long time in the UK getting people to write a tender that could only include my product and sitting back and waiting for the order to come.
Perhaps adding some more explanation to our situation. It's often that way that the prospects, the possible end customers are even not aware about the possibilities. They have problems. They were perhaps already looking for solutions that haven't found. And practically the only way is to build a good relationship, get the right contact, usually with the manufacturing director or QA director, and speak openly with them what there are issues and see if there is a fit with our technology. Because they are not aware, it's so new. In fact, this is our advantage because it's new. In a few years, it will become more, let's say, common. But at the moment, they are not aware that such solutions can exist, and you have to get the contact and open discussion about the problems and looking for a solution.
I don't know. Do you have
one? Yeah.
Excuse me. Do you have an MVP? Do you have actually a minimal viable product? Does the product actually work?
Yeah, we have working prototypes we can demonstrate in our lab that get the specimens, the samples, and demonstrate the working, for example. Yeah. So, for example, I can just as an example, usually in food quality and safety, you get X-rays and metal detectors for foreign particles. It's a food safety, it's a big issue, but these detectors cannot detect small plastic particles like all kind of foils and so on are used in food industry. We can detect that, and for example, and we can demonstrate and give us the samples. We can detect these particles, for example.
Because you're in a very sticky situation, and to be very honest with you, because you have a product and it's very unique, and many companies, especially in the pharma industry and the food industry, are crying out for something radically new. So on one hand, you've got great advantages. On the other hand, you need the references, and it needs to be an absolute working product. But from my point of view, you're at the crossroads of which direction to take, and that's critical. So I mean, and the problem, not a challenge that you will have, is I know pharma companies and food companies, you can either go direct, but most of them will buy their equiment from a sub-supplier. So you can either go parallel, contact the actual pharma companies themselves, or make a list of all the big companies in the UK who are supplying that kind of high-tech product. Now, most of those will be probably found in Cambridge, as Rob was saying. Cambridge, all the biotech is huge in the UK. So you've got all around Cambridge, Oxford, Southeast. That's where most of the very high-tech companies are doing a lot of R&D. So my advice to you for the channel is try and replicate maybe what you're doing in Slovenia, who your end customers, just aim for the big pharma companies, the sellers, but also in parallel go to the suppliers of such high-tech manufacturing processing equipment. But very, very clearly, as Rob mentioned, really detailed analysis. Check on LinkedIn, do a massive research. It takes a huge amount of time, and a lot of companies hate doing it because it's a donkey work, and it does require time, patience. But ultimately, that contact list, as I showed before, it will make you analyze your business, and you'll soon find who are the good ones, who are the bad ones, who are really influential. Because at this stage, you need to go, in my view, with the big players. And you need to start knocking on doors.
We don't have idea going directly because we are unknown in that market. We are, of course, working hard for first production installations also here locally. But we wouldn't want to wait another year or two just to make the next steps, because the opportunity will be just passing by.
Correct. Yeah, and you've got to be really, really fast. Yeah, Slovene companies can be really, really slow. And believe it or not, your competitors, if you have any, will often be doing the same as you, faster and better. So be very, very, very quick, but also be very, very prepared. It's a nice business you have.
One trick, if you have a target group of end customers, find out which LinkedIn groups, and in particular, if possible, UK-based LinkedIn groups, are they members of? You've got success stories you can talk about with your Slovenian. So write a white paper around a couple of your success stories. Yeah. Then hit these groups that you join with this success story. Yeah. Even get your Slovenian customers to post about, wow, what a great, and what you're doing is giving yourself the chance for someone in one of the target industries to say, whoa, that solves a problem. And what you're doing is you're creating a pull from the market. if you're looking to find partners to work with, the biggest thing you can have is a pull from the marketplace. Because not only have you got a great solution for them to go and sell, but there's some people already talking about it and asking for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a multi-level approach there, that research and find out who is providing machine vision solutions. Have a look. Do they have any do they have anything that copes with this? Or is this a hole in their product range? And this is identifying the channels and the ways. And just choosing one channel isn't enough. You have to create pull, you have to have some buzz, you have to, and the difficulty at the moment is you can't take your product to an exhibition or a conference and present it. That would actually be where you could get a whole load of people to be interested straight away. You don't have that luxury, although there may be virtual exhibitions which are always hit and miss.
The final thought, but I will contact you afterwards anyhow, I guess, because not to spend others' times. We have we have a case that for Slovenian, of course, the environment, big meat processor here locally. We found developed this solution for them because they were actively looking for these solutions with multinationals. Practically, they haven't found it. And we found, they developed the solution and contacted their provider of machinery, which is a German company. And everybody thought also, they thought that would be a perfect fit, that would be upgrade of their product, something that their customers are looking. They have already global sales and so on, but we couldn't get past the secretary, to say. So, complete ignore. And yeah, it's our region. We are aware it's not the first time that we met such attitude, but it's really huge barrier. And we are also thinking establishing just some company somewhere just to get a little bit across that barrier. I don't know how this is in UK. Can we expect something similar? But Germany, we have several such.
The Germans are tough, and UK are a little better, but you need the skills to get past the gatekeeper, as we call it. It's always very, very, very tricky. Well, one final thought: are you working with any British universities? That's also a very, very good way to get new academic products. Is to work and to offer the students, PhD students, or Manchester Uni or whoever, to say, look, we got this great product and this great software. Would you like to? Can we collaborate and do some further testing? There might be some confidentiality there, IP rights. I don't know, but. Is that something that you would consider? Because that also gives you very good coverage in the academic world, which then, as Rob said, will also spill over into the business world.
It's our technology is really nothing that new for the academia. Okay. Because it really, it's, a lot of things are already done, but it's new to application to the industry, several industries. Yeah. It's getting traction. So we are somewhere in between. We have in the team, of course, also the people that are actively at university here in Ljubljana and that have connection for that field. But I don't think we should get somewhere close to where the need is, industrial need. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very good, very good. Because what also for the listeners, what's very important, the UK has left the EU now, so the UK is on its own. It's now seen as another part of the world. So, in fact, that offers you greater opportunities. You go to the UK, but that means that you can actually sell now outside of the umbrella of all the EU trade agreements. So you've got the whole global international world that is also available to you. And the beauty there is a lot of these big pharma companies and food companies also have production plants all over the world, from Brazil to Algeria to you name it. So that you might lose the European market, but on a global market, you have access to huge potential new sales on the new rules, being UK and the other world. So that could also be very interesting for you, Andrei, looking at all the other continents.